now.
Okay, amazing. Thank you for the introduction. I wanted to switch to the cooking lesson, but okay. I'll try to share my screen. So I hope it works. I have a very protective browser. I should only share screen if I trust you, probably. So I trust you. Presenting to everyone. Do you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Thank you. And let's start. Do you still see my screen?
Yes.
Do you see the slides? Yes. Okay, good. Because I went full screen and now I don't see anything else. So, okay, so let's get started. So this is me. I'm Honza Javorek, and you can learn more about me at honzajavorek.cz. Software engineer, as Jirka said. I've been working for startups. I've been freelancing, and I worked for a big software engineering house, international big company. So I've got some experience in the field. And at the same time, nearly a decade ago, as Jirka also said, I started to get involved in the Python community. And the Python community is, as you might know, trying to be very friendly to beginners. And so I happen to be a lot around beginners. And I've seen them grappling with all the same problems and again, and asking the same questions and making the same mistakes. So I thought if there could be a website where all the information could be at one place. And a year ago, I decided I'll create that website, and that's a Junior Guru. That's the project. It's meant to be for Czech beginners, so it's in Czech, unfortunately only in Czech so far. But obviously this talk is going to be heavily sourced from what is on that site. We're experimenting today with the Google document. I created a Google document, and you can find it on the address, which is at the bottom of the slide. I've put there some links to stuff I'll be talking about, hopefully interesting. And below there's a section with questions, and I'll be happy if you could add your questions during my talk, and I'll try to answer them afterwards. And also, feel free to edit the document if you feel like taking notes or something like that. You can add your own section or something like that. And I might compile a handout from the document later on, I don't know, publish it on my blog or something like that. So now let's talk about you. So let's say this is you. Sorry, it's not very accurate portrait, but let's say this is you, and you've been through some learning, through some schooling. Perhaps you've read some books, you went through Nauč se Python, CZ, or you've seen some YouTube videos, or I don't know, tried mobile apps, free code bootcamp. Oh, I messed up the name, sorry. Well, you've been through books, you've been through videos, and you know the basics. And now you're asking what next. So I usually break it down to three segments, like this junior's journey, and that is learning the basics, then getting some initial practice, and then getting the actual job, the first job. So you, at this point, you should have the first step ticked off. You have your initial knowledge, your initial learning done, and now you should proceed to the other steps. Before even looking for a job, I think there are some minimum requirements. First, you should know a programming language, like any common programming language, mainstream, one which, I don't know, like Python, JavaScript, Java, anything will cut it. That's okay. And only the basics are necessary. So that's something you probably already know. Then second, you need projects to show off. So basically, that's the only way you can really prove yourself to the people at the interview or to the people in the companies. That you can apply the knowledge you've learned from the books or from videos, and to show off like what you can actually do, what you can finish. So this can be like a school project or a personal project, something like that. Third, ability to break down assignments to tasks. So this is an ability. Let's say I give you an assignment to create a program which takes the Roman numbers from user and translates it to Arabic numbers. So this ability allows you to take this assignment and not to get stuck, basically. You should be able to think about it and break it down to smaller problems you will know how to solve. Or perhaps you won't know how to solve them exactly, but you sense that that would be an isolated problem and you can ask someone about it and how to solve it. So you would break it down to, I don't know, so I need some code which will read the input from the user. I need some code which will print the output to the user. Then I need some logic which will translate the numbers from Roman numbers to Arabic numbers. And then perhaps an idea like, okay, I might need a dictionary for that, but I don't know yet. I'll try. There'll be I'll probably need to come up with some algorithm to do the translation. And perhaps you, at this point, you should already know that you will have to look up the Wikipedia page for Roman numbers, so that you see what are the corner cases and what are the pitfalls you can fall into. So basically, this ability is something you should train, which is really important. It is something which software engineers have trained for like years. It's best trained on the projects. You can't learn it from books. It's trained on the projects and on the like practical assignments. And in other fields, usually people don't train it that much. Even in math, you get to calculate something, but you know that you're in your exercise book, you're in a chapter quadratic equations, so you kind of know that you should use quadratic equation. So it doesn't really work the same way. Then there are like optional requirements. I think you could get a job even without these, but it's definitely very nice if you can bring those on the plate. I think English is very important, but since you're listening to this talk in English, I think you probably don't have such a problem with that. But I'll say that English is really important, and if you feel like you lack in English and you don't have good command of it, really think about boosting that skill, because tech is heavily English oriented, and you can get with Czech only so far. Especially it's bad for you because you'll be very, very limited without English or without proper command of English. You'll be limited in learning materials. You'll be limited in like who you can ask for help. You will be limited in the job offerings themselves, because a lot of them require English. And then there are like two hard skills, which I would say are quite universal. Like any job you will do, you'll probably find them handy. So that is basics of Git and basics of command line. And usually that is the Linux command line. Now tell me, now let me tell you something about the job market in tech. So the situation is like this. Many companies see senior developers. They'll spend tons of time and money to find them, and they'll want to spend almost zero on teaching you. Uh, that's sad situation, but that's how it is. I won't lie to you. I won't kid you like many others do. The food chain is juniors desperately need companies to hire them, and companies don't need them that much. Then companies desperately want seniors to work for them, and seniors don't need them that much. I mean, like they need them, but they need to work somewhere. But they are the scarce resource on the market, so they dictate their own terms. They're well off. So this might sound really bad, but as I said, that is like what it is, and you should better prepare for it than to neglect that it is this way. So basically, if you've seen this movie, like the movie, this scene is from, it's a Last Boy Scout. You know how the film progressed, and you know what Bruce Willis did. So you can get some inspiration from Bruce Willis and act like Bruce Willis. So first, you should prepare for the worst. This is really important for your mental health. Basically, you should set the right expectations about what it's going to be like to look for your first job in tech. You shouldn't expect that you'll apply and you'll get the job on like second try or something like that. Count with the fact that it will be like 20 of them, and it will be a lot of time, a lot of effort. It will be hard, and it will be draining. But prepare yourself for this. Then suffer the same way Bruce Willis has suffered, but persist the same way. Persist till the end. And then the same way Bruce Willis did, win anyway against all the odds, because it's still like possible, and it's like there are really people who get their first job, and it just takes time and effort, and you should know that. Now let me tell you something about a strategy you can take. Basically, you want to explain companies why they should invest in you. And I think companies have like only two things basically to assess when hiring a junior. You don't have much behind you. You're a junior, you don't know much, right? So they can only look at basically two things, and that is like projects and hard skills, and that's like where you are right now, like what you've achieved to learn and so on. And then they can look at like how you're going to learn, like whether you're able to learn, how fast you're going to learn, and like how efficient that's going to be, and whether you want to learn what they want to teach you. So basically they want to know your like passion, soft skills, anything that plays in your advantage in that regard, anything that could work as a multiplier. And they'll decide, they'll calculate the equation for themselves, like whether it makes sense to pour time and money into your learning, so this process like speeds up, and whether it makes sense for them. So two most important things, like projects and that passion I mentioned. So first about projects. You're a junior, and nobody expects you to present something amazing, and like you shouldn't you're not expected to bring something which blows people's minds and will be like eternally beautiful or something like that. You probably don't have skill for that, and you shouldn't aim for that, and you probably won't impress anyone. The aim of your project should be to show you can build things, you can finish things, you can apply your knowledge. They don't have to be perfect. They can be like full of, full of bugs. Someone asked me whether it matters if the project is full of bugs. It doesn't matter if you can like talk about it, if you know at least about half of them already and would say this day I would do it in a different way. Basically, the aim of the projects is to give them a realistic idea about what they need to teach you, like where you're right now, what they're able to use, and what they need to teach you. So they don't have to be perfect. They, as perfect as they are, they'll be telling about you and what you can do. In the world of RPG games, imagine projects as the equipment, the gear you have. Like you're showing, like I have this strong armor, I have this helmet and this sword, and I'm this strong. So then there's passion. Passion is a heavily overloaded word, which attracts a lot of bullshit, but I didn't come up with a better one. So basically, you're trying to give them an idea about how easy it is to teach you. Uh, Idea about the direction in which your learning will be easiest. So you want to mention like projects, community activities, blog articles, extra education, ideas, interests, hobby, projects, passions. Basically, any multiplier which plays in your advantage and shows like the your direction. In the world of RPG games, that would be the stats and kind of like your character. So something like the strength, dexterity, vitality, energy. You don't have to have everything maxed out because nobody is barbarian, which needs to be super strong. But you probably want to know what are your strengths, and you want to show off those. Um, I think you should write your CV like to describe your career vector. That I don't know if that's a thing. I've invented that a few days ago when preparing the talk, but I like to call it like that. It's like you're at a certain place. You know what you already know, and you want to get somewhere. You want like who you want to become, and I think it's good to mention it in the CV, so it's not just a static kind of snapshot of what you know, but it also kind of shows where you're going. So I think it's good if you say I'm a junior Python developer who knows the basics, but I want to become a backend engineer, or I don't know, I want to become a DevOps master, technical writer, or data analyst, something like that, like show ambition. Because I think the company then can assess kind of like whether your ambition aligns with what they want to, how they want to develop you. And if that aligns, I think it's a big plus. And then again, you can mention things that prove that the journey is doable and fast and efficient. That is like whatever schooling you have and whatever passions, and kind of like proves that you're able to go through this journey in an efficient way. In an RPG game, that would be like choosing pretty much the character you want to be, whether you want to be barbarian or paladin or Amazon. And the problem is that you don't know probably who you want to become. I wanted to have a registry of like professions at junior.guru website, but it's not there yet. So I think a good alternative to that could be let other people explain their roles to you. That means like you probably have some people in the community you know and who are senior developers or just people you know, and let them explain like what they do as like in their profession, what they do all day, what is their specialization, what is their ambition, what other colleagues they have, and what they do, what different professions they have in their team. Like if there's, I don't know, technical writer, data analyst, what they do all day. Like if they just go through loads and loads of data, or whether they do something fun. What do you think they should do? Or like it's a good to ask people and reality check like also the expectations about the professions. And you can peek into fields if they seem interesting. Like you heard about data analysis, so you can basically invest one afternoon into going through articles about how it is to be a data analyst, what skill set is needed, how they work look like. What is really telling is to find some jokes about the profession, because they tell a lot about like what the people are grappling with when they do that. um, then often people find positions which are related to tech, but are somewhere like nearby, but you don't need to code in those positions. So it's like testers, system administrators, tech support, and so on. And they think that applying for those would be easier, will get them closer to coding job, and will be easier since they're, I don't know, former dentist or something, so they don't have any relation to the field yet. But as a tester, they would have a relation to the field, and would be easier for them later to get a proper coding job. The problem is that this can be a very sad detour. I know about people who got hired as testers and didn't do any coding during the testing job because it was all manual testing. And they didn't have time to actually code anymore because they were doing this job. And they were promised in 2 years you will become a developer, but that didn't happen. So basically they lost 2 years in a testing job or tech support job, which requires different skill set and doesn't get you any closer to developer job. So if you want to code, make sure you'll code. So even a tester can code. If it's automated tests, you can code as a tester, but make sure that the position is about that if you want to code. I don't want to say that tech support is a bad position, but not if you want to code. So where to find jobs? Three main sources, I'd say. Job boards, that's the obvious like first option. The problem is that many suffer this thing, like only fraction of job marked as entry level or junior level are actually entry level. That's because when recruiters go and file the positions there, they tick off all the all the filtering options because they want to close their doors, kind of like what if a good candidate from that seniority level would apply, and maybe we would want them. So I think the problem is when you go to a job board and search for like entry level or junior jobs, you'll get a lot of stuff in the results which don't make any sense, like 5 years experience and so on. So this doesn't really work well. I tried to solve this by writing a bot which downloads job postings from various places and then filters them according to their content. You can find that at junior.guru jobs. And there is a lot of room for improvement, but somehow it kind of works. And yeah, so the that's one disadvantage. Another disadvantage is that anyone can apply to those jobs, but that doesn't seem to be such a problem in the Czech Republic than somewhere else. I think you're not competing here with 200 other applicants. So Then profiles. You can, at various websites, you can make profiles. I mean, you sign up and create something like you fill a form, which is like basically filling your CV in a structured form, and then recruiters can go and like cherry pick from interesting candidates. I'm yet to hear from juniors specifically whether this has worked for them. I mean, I don't have enough data or testimonials to say whether this is a good approach or bad, or whether it works for juniors or not. So you can try that, but definitely you have nothing to lose. You can try that. I think a very like a prominent player between these websites is TechLoop. As I say, I don't have much experience regarding juniors in this regard. Then recruiters. There are two kinds of recruiters. Basically, the in-house recruiters. So you have big company. It has its own department for hiring, and they have recruiters. And those are, I don't know, more or less like your friends. They put up the job postings on the job boards, and they should walk you through the hiring process and kind of like help you. I don't know, nothing interesting that much. But the other kind of recruiters, those are like standalone or like agencies, and those work in a way that you approach them and they try to help you and find you a job. And you don't pay for that. They take provision from your salary when you get a job. So the company pays for that, and that's the big disadvantage for you as a junior, because the company, the cost of you as a person they hire is higher, and that means like if they have candidates to choose from, and you have a recruiter, you're going through recruiter, you're much more expensive, and they won't choose you. So I've been told by recruiters that they're telling juniors to not to go through them, because they'll get more jobs without them than with them. And also they're paid from provision, and that means if they're trying to help seniors, they'll get higher provisions, right? So it's like higher salaries. One thing you should know about is this phenomenon of Leetcode. It's theoretical puzzles tested at a whiteboard. I don't know how it works right now during the pandemic, if they're like remote whiteboards, but this is something which is, I think, not so prevalent in the Czech Republic. But I think like in at least from reading like resources from US or UK or other parts of Europe, it seems like abroad it's very often almost the only way companies test applicants. Like it's so prevalent that like the internet is full of it. So, and it's terrible. Like I think like these things like time complexity, binary trees, sorting algorithms, recursion hash tables, blah blah blah. I think these things are really useful to know, but I think like people should learn them on the fly during their career when they need them, and not to memorize them just to pass like artificial tests during a job interview. I mean, this is getting like out of hand, kind of like you can find rants about it on all over the internet. There's specialized books about it, like forums, like people who want to apply for a junior job at, I don't know, Google. They memorize like 400 of them or 1,000 of them prior to even trying to apply. It's crazy. So uh, but definitely you can train for that. You should expect this can pop up during the interview. You probably don't know when, but you should expect that this can pop up. You should train at least the basics. There is a nice website based CS, based computer science, which I think I've put to the links in the Google document. And there are websites like Code Wars, HackerRank. You'll find more where you can train these exercises. And on YouTube, you can find videos on how to how to understand the algorithms and so on. So you should definitely know that this exists, and I wish you good luck not to meet any tests like this. Here I didn't resist to include a screenshot of someone who was so angry about it. He has a computer science degree, but actually found out that to get a job, he needs to do so much Leetcode that it's like for nothing to have a university degree. So he proposes there is a university focused on Leetcode, 4 years of Leetcode, and oh, sorry, okay. One thing you should also know is as I showed you the food chain, you're at the bottom of the food chain, and you might grow thinking that you have no say in whether you want to accept the job or not. And that's not true. You should definitely have a say in that, and you should definitely ask the company about things, and you should have your limits. Like if the job or the company, if it seems shady, if the company culture seems to be toxic, like watch out for red flags, and like have your limits. Don't take it, even though it might be really hard because you tried 20 times and just finally they offered you a job, but you should reject it because it's not worth it. I mean, the mental health and the issues which can come, it's not worth it, and you should wait for the 25th offer. It's like Tinder. It's like rejecting early saves time for both of you. And there are definitely questions you should ask, like will there be someone dedicated to help me? Because often it can happen that you join the company and then they tell you these 3 people can help you if you get stuck. And like constantly, whenever you look at them, they are super busy, and you feel like shit coming to them and asking them for help. So it shouldn't be like that. It should be that there is a like dedicated person. I don't mean like they should attend to you all the time, but they should be the person who is assigned to help you, and you shouldn't feel like shit coming to ask them. So it's good if you ask the company about this because you're junior and you will definitely need that. Also, like, can you give specific examples of the work I'm about to do? Because as a junior, you don't have work experience with most of the stuff, and you might have different expectations from like they can just tell you some keywords like, I don't know, you'll be tester, but if they describe you what your working day is going to look like, you'll better understand what the job is about. Maybe you will learn that coding is like 5% of the job and 95% is clicking somewhere, and you'll realize that that's not what you want to do. And last thing is a couple of tips how you can stand out. And that is you can cold email companies you would like to work for. You probably know some companies, or you either like you can find them like nearby that you like what the company does, and you would like to help them with their mission or something, or you just like the culture there, and they don't have open positions, but you can still write them, like cold email them and ask them like, hey, I'm a junior, I would love to work for you because blah, blah, blah. I mean, blah, blah, blah shouldn't be random. It should be from your heart. And and try to approach them this way, because perhaps they'll think like, okay, so this person is totally into what we do, and we might teach them and go with them. Then networking is really powerful. Today it's difficult because even though you're at the meetup right now, it's not so easy to break out with 5 people with a beer and talk about random stuff. There are no conferences and so on in the real life. So even though it's difficult, there are still ways. There are chats, there are Facebook groups. You can network within the people in the field. Attend meetups, conferences, at least to the point it's possible. And basically, you can ask about what people do. They can remember you. You can chat. Ask about positions. Ask about past companies. Like people worked for companies, and they'll tell you about them. Maybe what the companies don't want to present about themselves. So networking is a powerful way how to get connections and how to get into people's minds, and they'll remember you, and somehow maybe they'll try to hire you. Volunteering, community work, that's slightly related. I think in the Python community there are many opportunities how to get involved, how to help with a PyLadies course, or with even with organizing this meetup itself. You'll get visibility. You'll get basically when you get to organize something, you don't need to you don't need to even be able to code, but you get visibility, you get the connections. Like I started like this. I started this meetup way back 10 years ago, I don't know. And even though I wasn't a professional in Python, people knew me because they knew that I organized the meetup, and basically I gained a lot of opportunities just thanks to that. And also I was inviting speakers and so on, so the speakers knew me. Then you can do blogging, and you might think that you can't do blogging, but actually you can, because you're constantly learning something new. And basically when you learn something new, you can write down what you learned, and that will force you to dive deeper to the topic and understand it better, and to kind of sort your thoughts. And also, it like if you publish it as an article, it can help people who you were yesterday. Basically, yesterday you would want to read that article, and your learning would be faster. And you're proving that you understand the topic, at least to this level you wrote the article. And also it's notes for you, so you can come back to it a year later and refresh your memory. So I think blogging is actually a very nice way how to show off a bit and help others and kind of stand out. And portfolio is a nice way how to as a website where you have like your side projects and so on, and it shows that you do something, like you're interested in doing this in your free time kind of, and you're passionate about it a bit. So that is all from my talk. Now I'll close the presentation mode, and I'll see whether you're all sleeping and bored. Oh yeah, Jirka.
Thanks, Honza. It was a great one. Thank you very much for doing this presentation for us. Would you like me to read the questions that we gathered in the document?
Yeah. I have it open here.
So you can go through it if you want, no worries.
Yeah, okay, I see it. So, questions. I skipped the first two because I wrote those. Then there is experiences with finding your first job. So that's that's funny. Basically, I started during high school, so that's a bit different story than career switching in 30s. But I started during high school. I needed some money, so I started like a part-time job, and I was like closing envelopes there for letters to be sent. And I did that for 30 crowns per hour. And then in my free time, I kind of, from magazines, I learned how to code. And they noticed that I can do this. And then they promoted me to someone who did something like closing envelopes, but in HTML code. No, I mean, it's like editing HTML templates on unimportant websites they had, because it was like an agency or something. And they boosted my my salary too, so it was 70 crowns per hour. So that was like my first coding job. And then I was there for a few years, and then I left to do freelancing. So I got like a license, like osvědčení, živnostenský list, and I actually got like, I started finding like clients and so on, and tried to do a supplier for them. So I said like, I can do HTML, CSS, and so on, and I'll do it for you for a cheaper price than you will sell it to someone else. And it was good for like during university. It got me enough money to pay for rent and beer. So I assume that answers the question. Resources where to train solving technical tasks. Yeah, I can add something from the candidate handbook I have on the side, because there's a section which is dedicated to that, and I'll try. I think it's interview. Yeah, please, Leetcode. I'll put it there too, because there's some more links. Yeah, so I added one link. So that wasn't really a question, but good. It's notes. Should you mention your education in your CV, even if it's not ID related? So I definitely think you should. Depends like into how much detail you want to go. Like if you're a dentist, I think it's fair to say I'm a dentist and I have like university and so on, or like I studied dentistry in Finland. I don't think you need to list like all your 50 certificates about dentistry, because that's not relevant. Well, maybe you can write a sentence like, I acquired 50 certificates, because that kind of tells something about your learning. But I don't think you need to overdo it in this way. So definitely mention what you did, because also there are things like you never know what the company grapples with, and who is actually the best match for them. And surprisingly, in many cases, they'll see your background and they'll think, okay, maybe someone with that background would be actually like quite good addition to our team, because maybe they have a room full of people who don't want to talk to each other, and you have a background which involves a lot of like people work, and they'll think, okay, maybe this person actually doesn't know code that much, but they would help us as a good addition to the team, or something like that. Or definitely if you apply as a dentist, as a former dentist, and you apply to a company which does, I don't know, software for hospitals, it's kind of relevant because you know the field.
Well, maybe chime in here. As a recruiter, I guess I'm speaking for one company, so it always depends on the company. But the trend I see is companies are not focusing that much on the education. Obviously, if you are a fresh graduate from IT university or IT related school, it makes sense. But I would say that the most important thing is what you actually know, what is your knowledge, what are your skills, and what are your ambitions. So with dentist, maybe it makes sense for some medical company, for some IT position in medical company. But the most important thing, I think, is to mention what you actually do in your free time, what you learn, what you know, and which way do you want to go in IT, as you mentioned in the talk.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and like if you have university title, definitely do not neglect it. Like that was my point. Like you don't have to list the 40 certificates, but don't neglect that you studied in university in whatever field it was. So what would be the other question? Despite the COVID context, should we accept remote jobs as juniors? I guess it's not the best at the beginning. So that's pretty current question. I asked about this at various places involving communities of beginners, communities of Python programmers, and HR communities. And basically, it seems that the companies are adapting to this. The seniors who take care of juniors replied that they manage that. If you have like this meeting software, and if you have like sharing screen, and you don't worry about like jumping on a quick call and discussing stuff, that is doable. You have to be in contact, and they're like, you use the standard ways how to connect two people who are far from each other, and it's doable. You just have to communicate and don't be afraid to ask questions. But even that can be worked around, that you have, I don't know, daily sync about how you managed. And so companies are inventing ways how to do this, and I've heard about companies like hiring juniors during this time, and not only programming juniors, which I think programming junior is in a bit of advantage, because they can kind of, they go during the day and then they have a call and can discuss. But if you're junior in, I don't know, HR or like other fields which are necessary in the company, maybe you have even a harder time. So they hired juniors during this time, and they find it difficult, but definitely not doable, undoable, and impossible. And I wouldn't be so afraid to do that. I think it can be harder, but nobody knows like how long the pandemic will be. And also, there are companies who are distributed like from the beginning. I mean, even prior to the pandemic, they work as a distributed team, like one person sitting in Copenhagen, and another in New York, and another in I don't know, somewhere in Africa. And if you have experience with remote, I think it can add to your hard skills. Like it's a skill to be able to work remotely, and I think if you'll manage that, you'll like being able to like have a good command of this skill is a plus in this time, and I think it will be only more and more in the future. So I would apply for a remote job and see whether it works. Like I would do it. I would recommend it. Do you have some experiences with online freelance jobs? How to become freelancer? But is freelancing recommended for juniors? Okay, so by chance, I spent like 2 weeks writing down this topic and adding it to the candidate handbook. I didn't promote it yet thoroughly, but the chapters are already there. So if you go to the candidate handbook and on junior.guru, and you'll find like where is it, strategy, and there is like práce na volné noze. You'll find a thorough answer. I'll try to answer it even like for all of you right now, like some kind of summary. I think it's not the best start for a junior to start as a freelancer, but at the same time, I'm not the one to judge like people's like starting position like and conditions in their life. Like basically, if you're somewhere living in Jeseníky and I don't know, you take care of your grandma, you can't move. It is probably your best position to start as a freelancer, because you can't just move to Brno or Prague or get a regular job, or you're a student, or you take care of a child. So there are different like life stories, and each of them like gives you different conditions. And in case you decide to go for freelancing, there are definitely ways you can become a freelancer. It will be hard, but it's doable. And in the chapter I added to the handbook, I think I tried to list all the disadvantages and a lot of tips how to work around them. I don't think I can make a summary, because like it's 10 of bullet points and so on, but it is possible. I wouldn't recommend it, but it depends on your situation. Yeah. Also, I'll add that like I have a friend in Zimbabwe, and he is a junior Python developer, Django, and so on, and he works as a freelancer, because he says like, in my country there are only like full-time jobs for completely different technologies, completely different stuff than like I know. So there's no demand for a person like me. So the only way I can actually work is to do a freelancer and try to get like European American jobs. How Corona affected the job market? There are probably many seniors searching for a job now. Is it too bad? Do juniors still have some hope? Just today, I read an analysis and like a what's it's called? Tisková zpráva. A press release from Startup Jobs, and they claim that they have even they have perhaps even more job postings than the same time year ago. So I guess the market is not in a bad shape, and there's definitely hope for juniors. Like I think like it might be different in the US, where you can fire someone within a day or like within an hour, and like we live different conditions here in the Czech Republic than some in different areas in the world. So if you hear that like it's super hard for people in the US to get a job as a junior, you should think like how relevant that information is here. I think here it isn't that bad. I'm still like hearing people getting their junior jobs, and like it's I don't think Corona affected the job market in a terrible way. Even like seniors, I see a lot of job offers for seniors. I don't think it's like too bad. I wouldn't be panicking. Should you accept an unpaid internship? It is I would say it depends on what's your situation and what are the conditions. But like it's definitely on the shady side. Like it can be perceived as unpaid work. So the conditions should be quite clear, and you should be sure that it's good for you. If you want to if you want to if you want to get some practice, if you want to touch some real world projects, I think you can find a non-profit and do something for them. If you're a website creator or something like that, you can find like, and I don't mean non-profit just like Člověk v tísni, like an official non-profit. It can be any non-profit, not profiting activity around you. Like you have, I don't know, a club for fans of snakes. So you can make a website for them or a tool for something. So calculating the calories burned when a snake eats something. So like you can do a lot of stuff for just pro bono, for good, for a lot of like activities or non-profits or yeah. So if you have an offer to have an unpaid internship, I don't know, like be sure that there's something like in it for you and it's a good opportunity. An internship like should be that they'll decide in the end that whether they'll give you a chance and give you the job or not. So perhaps like if you have savings, if you don't if you're not pressed to earn early some money, you can try it. Like definitely depends on the particular situation.
Honza, I wanted to ask, I'm not sure if you mentioned it in your talk, but would contributing to open source be a good alternative to unpaid internship, something like that?
Yeah, definitely, but it's good. It's tricky because I think it's tricky to get get started with contributing to open source just like that as a junior. I mean, it's not hard technically, it's hard like process wise kind of because everyone tells you that you should contribute to open source and you definitely don't know where to start and how and what the fuck what you should do. Sorry. So I think contributing to open source is amazing and good, and I think it's great. But if you want to do that, you should actually, I think, find someone who already does that and gives you some clues. They don't have to particularly mentor you or something, but they should at least help you to make the first pull request or something like that. It's definitely doable like on your own if you put like a lot of effort in it. But I think it's so much easier if you have just a friend who already contributes to open source and spends one afternoon with you and shows you how to make the first pull request and I don't know, fix a typo in a README and start like that. So you understand the process, understand the consequences, understand the discussions. And if you have that, if you have someone who you can ask about this and kind of guide you through the initial steps, I think it's an amazing opportunity to discover an amazing wide world of open source and contributing and getting opportunities through that, because it's something I didn't mention in the presentation, but it's like community work and getting practice at the same time. You'll get to know a lot of people. It's networking. It's kind of it's a lot of things together. Another question. Do you know a well-done tutorial, online course to understand how GitHub works, please? So that's kind of on topic about the open source. So what I I've seen a while ago, but I think it's still the best material about this is open source dot guide, I think. Yeah. So regarding the kind of philosophical start and kind of understanding all the stuff, I would say that where I am, open source guide is a good site where to start, where to learn about how it all works. It's a lot of reading, but I mean, it's worth it. It's nicely written, and it's even made by GitHub, and it's kind of like you can start there and learn the basics, and then I would say you want the friend who already does open source and shows you the practical side of it and gets you going. Are there in Brno some conferences, meets, or anything practice English in IT? I know about. Wait. Let me. Actually, one of my friends started big meetups in Brno about like English speakers, English conversation meetups. I don't know what's the state of it right now because the friend lives in Prague and started the meetups in Prague too, but perhaps the Brno ones still live. And also it's probably hard to do it now. But I have a whole I think I'll have a whole section about how to improve English on the website. And there is, so the community is Prague English Meeting, and I think it was Brno English Meeting before that. So try to search for that. But I think it was like in-person meeting in pub, informal, talking with people and so on. So that would be relevant when the pandemic is kind of over. But meanwhile, you can do stuff like there are these websites like services like I think one is Italki. I don't know how to read that. And another one is, what was the name? Basically, it's a service where you can pay an English mentor to talk to. And it's a very nice thing. Like my brother teaches his children English like this. They paid like 1 hour per week with some lecturer from, she's actually living in Spain, but she teaches them English. And they're talking about all, children stuff, and and they're learning English during that. And like, it doesn't matter what your level of English is, they're always able to get you going and speaking. It costs money, but it's a very nice way how to. Huh?
The second one is Lingodo. It's also great, and it's the same as the first one you mentioned. And I like YouTube channels. They are not IT focused, but there is one great channel, Dream Prague, which is from American who lives in Czech Republic, and she's posting videos about comparison of Czech and American culture, and she sometimes mentions that. And English usage is also good.
Okay, good. If you have link or something, could you add it to the document?
Sure. Yeah.
Great. So I've noticed in the chat of the Google Meet that there is link to Brno Toastmasters. This also very good thing. I think it's a very good tip. So I added it to the Google document too. Is there a website or anything similar to Glassdoor which provides IT company reviews in the Czech Republic in regards to their pay culture, and so on. And yeah, there is Atmoscope CZ. So yeah, already answered. I'm not sure whether there was something else too. I think there might have been also something except of Atmoscope, but I can't recall right now. Atmoscope is, I think, the most known. Which companies would you recommend in Brno for junior tech jobs? Well, there are notable big companies in Brno. That is like depends what your, I would say it depends what your programming language of choice is. But since you're at a Python meetup, I guess it might be Python. So I think three notable companies in Brno are Kiwi, Red Hat, and Sysnam, who are hiring Pythonists. And then there are like smaller companies. Maybe the scene has changed, so correct me if I'm wrong. As far as I checked with Kiwi, they don't hire juniors right now. Red Hat is hiring juniors. Sysnam, I have no information. So those, like, I'm recommending big companies not because they're paying me, but because because I think it's good for a junior to actually join a big company and learn about the world, and then decide what to do with their life. Kind of, if they want to stay because they love it there, or they want to, I don't know, start freelancing or something, but to at least like do their first 2 years or something like that in a bigger company. And it's easier in a bigger company because they have the resources to teach you, and they're kind of more willing to give you what you need. It's like smaller companies are good too, but it's more like rough, and you need to be more agile because they don't have so many resources. So it's more like a lot of learning on your own, and it's more like bumpy road, but it can be a lot of fun too. I think that would be an answer. Startups, smaller or bigger corporations. Yeah, that's like in the candidate handbook. I have specific like chapters about why bigger company or why startup, and what are the pros and what are the cons. Like it's kind of what I said right now. Like in a smaller company, you have larger influence on what is happening, but it's more like a bumpy road. So depends what you prefer. Which are the companies hiring juniors in Prague? In Prague, there is a lot of companies. It's a hard thing to answer. I have a job board on the site, and it changes every day. So that's like I can put it there, and my answer is probably watch what is appearing there. You said the bigger companies are more comfortable for juniors, but won't we learn more in a small company? I think it's a trade-off. Definitely, I don't think you learn less in a big company. It depends on the team. It depends on the company. Sometimes teams within one big company are so different that it's like more different than from other company. so it really depends on the conditions. And I think the general rule is just that the bigger company has more resources to give you what you need. But of course, if it's not willing to give you what you need despite the resources, then like it's a bad situation anyway. And smaller company is, as I said, more like agile, and you can learn more in a, it can be learning in more like harsh environment, but it can be a lot of fun. Depends what you prefer. Maybe it's like slower pace and more like having your life secured, or a quick pace and not knowing what is going to happen next month. Is it appropriate to offer companies to work as an intern for free? I don't know. Like even as a junior, you know something and you're adding a value to the company. I don't think you should work for free for companies, even as an intern. Like it's like have a bit of confidence and have some value. The value doesn't have to be large, like a big, like it's not you have to ask for thousands, blah blah blah. But you should ask for something. I think like your work has value, and you should be paid at least that small value. And if you want to work for free just to get practice, I would recommend some non-profit projects where you add good to the world, and the relation between you and the project is clear in that you're volunteer, you don't expect any pay, and I don't know. But definitely depends again on the conditions. If you know if a company is not paying you, then I think they might be you're like free resource. I don't think that's a healthy relationship. You know, like if I give you something for free, you're more willing to, I don't know, drop it, break it. It's, I think there should be some value attached to the relationship. Is there a way to start with IT other than web development? It often feels to me like this is 90% of IT job market and everything, but maybe that's just my social bubble. Maybe how I could get to something else. So definitely web development is trendy. So that's why you see it as 90% of job IT market. And it's not but there's a lot of other jobs. It's just that it is kind of these subfields are less visible, and perhaps it's harder to get into them if you don't know them, like if you don't search for them or and maybe they need more specialization. So I'd say explore what are other like professions within IT. Like there's like one example I would give is there is a whole field of kind of like system administration by code, like DevOps and SRE and all that, and that is a lot of work in the command line and taking care of servers like your pets, and you know it's this kind of work. You look into your terminal all day, but and you write configuration files and you think about topology of a network. It's a different kind of stuff, and I think it can be good for juniors too. Also, like automation jobs. I think automation engineer is also something which is interesting for juniors, because you basically in a lot of companies there is a lot of processes with tools and I don't know, they want that when you write hello to Slack, Jira ticket is automatically created and someone will solve the problem later, or something like there are processes and they want to automate it, and there is like dedicated position is the automation engineer who basically has Python in one hand and I don't know, Excel sheet in another hand, and and glues stuff together. So with scripts and this kind of stuff. So I think there are more positions which could be interesting for juniors. They're just not so visible and perhaps with widespread. There's not so many positions about them, and perhaps companies are not even advertising them. Like you could come to a company and say, don't you need automation engineer? They would might agree, but they don't put up a job posting about it. What is appropriate or recommended to add to a junior's GitHub? For example, are piloted homework appropriate, or is it better to skip that and upload more serious projects? So I'm a big proponent of put on your GitHub whatever you want, even if it's rubbish. I think GitHub is a playground, and it's not like your CV. If you want to use it there's something like pinned repositories, so you can kind of pin repository you're proud of. You could use that, and all the other stuff should be whatever you want, whatever you do. Like it's like it's a playground. So do all sorts of stuff you want there. Do your like hobby project there. Do anything. Don't think about someone looking at your code, because I don't know. I have like 6-year-old projects there. I'm not afraid that someone will see them. If they see them and won't hire me because of that, then like they're stupid because it's 6-year-old project. So if someone is interviewing you and they find a project on your GitHub which is not ideal, and it's just something like you tried or didn't finish or whatever, and they ask about it, just say them, oh, this is something I was trying and I didn't finish it. It's just like, something in progress. Or this is something I did half a year ago, and I would do it in a different way, completely different way today, and explain them how you would do it. I think that's completely okay. And you can even try things, and then if you feel like kind of insecure about having them there, even though they are kind of obsolete, you can mark the repository as archived. So that will show as a yellow bar above the repository, which says this is archived repository. It won't change, it's old or something like that. It's obsolete. So I'm a big proponent of having whatever you want on your GitHub. Feel free to use it as a playground, because that's how open source should work. And if you want to point out things you're proud of, point them out by the pinning feature. If you want to suppress things, you can archive repositories. But I think I wouldn't curate it as a CV. Let's keep this freedom as developers. The HR people won't take our GitHubs. So yeah, next question. Yeah, and I didn't answer. Pilot is homeworks appropriate? Yes, appropriate. Could it be said if it's better for a junior to work for a company which has its own product versus company which is hired by other companies? Yeah, so this is a product company versus agency company. It has pros and cons. So product company is working on one product for a long time and nurturing it and so on. It has certain disadvantages, and that is that the work can get you can get bored from working on a single thing for so long, and that changes in the product are kind of like important stuff. So it takes long time until they happen, and it's serious and so on. Of course, it depends. This is generalization, but in the agency, it's more, I think, stressful. At the same time, the projects are like one project, second project. It goes like this every month. So you can try new stuff. You can play with the latest technologies, because it's not like 10 years old code base, but it's something you started on a green greenfield like last week. But like usually there are like deadlines and everything, so it's stressful, and it's not so, maybe it's not so full of best practices. It's more like, let's get this done in a week. So it has its pros and cons, and depends on your I would be inclined to say that maybe for a junior might be interesting to start in the agency, because it's more like throwaway code. It's not. It should work for the clients, but but it rotates quickly, let's say. But it really depends also on your personality. Like for someone, it could be really stressful, and they might like to work on the product in a more slow pace, and so on. What is an appropriate salary range for a junior in Brno? What about Ostrava? So I have this number, and that is 30,000 is the average in the country. Which means that it's probably higher in Prague and probably lower somewhere everywhere else. But I would really appreciate if someone, perhaps a recruiter, could jump in and give some ideas.
Yeah, it's the thing you said. It seems relevant. I would say if the company is somehow not an old school Czech company, but startup or bigger company or corporate, I think the starting salary would be anywhere between 30 and 40. Yep.
Okay, thanks. So yeah, and about Ostrava, I think I have no specific idea. So let's take what we have, like what I said and what Jirka said. Same question for Prague, especially for junior data analyst. I don't have the data breakdown really. There is only like one poll where there's some numbers, but there is lack of data. Like people don't want to really talk about it that much. I mean, people who are applying for jobs, they would like to know, but it's hard to get the right numbers from people, and there are not so many polls about it. But if you want to make a poll, make it, and I'll try to get to as many people as I can and companies. Okay, so that is pretty much start as a junior in IT or non-IT company in regard to learning opportunities and future progress. I think that's similar to product versus agency. I think IT company in a non-IT IT department in a non-IT company is something more like a product company. Like it's not a software house. I mean, if you take, I don't know, Rohrik, CZ, is it IT company or not? It's non-IT because it's like a supermarket, but it has heavy IT department where there's probably plenty of developers and some software house kind of culture. So these days these borders kind of blend because a lot of non-IT companies have like full-fledged IT departments. So it's hard to say, yeah, maybe in a bank they outsource the whole department and it's more like the border is visible, but I think these days it's not that visible and that such a difference. So I would say non-IT company, depends, again, generalization, is like a product company? Okay. Which companies are the best teachers for juniors? In which company can a junior expect to learn best practices instead of learning to do things in not so preferred way? I think that's really hard to say, because this is a question even the seniors would like to know. Like, I would bring up the mention that the interview is a two-way process, and that you have a say whether you want to work there as well. So you can ask like former employees or someone, you can see Glassdoor, Atmoscope, whether the people who worked there were happy or not. That's probably the best you can do. I don't think there's even a generalization I could say like what companies would work better regarding learning. I think that's the biggest kind of task you have during the interview, to learn this about the company, whether the company is going to teach you well and is going to teach you enough and kind of the best practices and so on. That's something from the insides of the company. They'll never say it out loud, like we are writing shitty code. It's like doesn't work like that. So you have to kind of infer it from various things they mention during the interview and so on. And it takes practice to learn what to look for. So that's the best I can give you. I think we are at the end of the questions.
I have one, if I can break the rule and ask one aloud, because I have busy hands currently, sorry.
Okay.
So what do you think about those online learning certificates? Is it relevant, and is it relevant/good to include it in the CV of a junior? Like a Coursera, Udemy, and all those.
I would say, like, I'm not a recruiter, but if I was one, I would probably trust you that you finished a Coursera course, even without the certificate. Kind of like, it would be important for me that you went through some kind of education, that you finished a course, and it would be more important for me if you show me a project where you applied the knowledge, than the certificate which says you finished the course. Because the certificate says you finished it and kind of proves it. That's nice. But what does it say about how you can apply the knowledge and like how you listened to the course? There might be some exercises, there might be some projects, but as a recruiter, I'm not so familiar with the curriculum. There's so many of them. Like you can have so many courses these days. So I don't think there is a course which would have such a name that's when it shines on your CV, me as a recruiter would jump and grab you and say, I want to hire you. So I think it's more important to have the projects and kind of prove that you can build something. What do you think, Jirka?
Yeah, I basically agree. You know, I spoke with a lot of people that had a lot of certifications and courses in their CV. But as you mentioned, what's important is actually if you practice the knowledge, if you apply the knowledge, because, well, you can do a ton of certifications and courses, but if you do not apply it, you will most probably forget in a few months or half a year, and you're back at the starting point. So back to my original point, it is important what you actually know, what skills you got, what knowledge you have, not what you have written in your CV in terms of the name of the course or certification.
Okay. Maybe there are more questions. I really need to grab a beer from the fridge on which this computer is, so I'll just dive down for the beer now. It's a standing desk, actually standing station.
Oh, Patriot. Still in your soul, right?
Almost from Brno.
So yeah, does anyone have any question? You can, of course, unmute yourself and ask here, or you can still write it in the document. I'll give you. Cheers. I'll give you a few seconds, and if not, I guess I'll stop the recording and we can hang out.
I can try my previous question in is gonna be the simplified Chinese as relevant as English in IT very soon?
Depends where you are trying to apply to, I think.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Mate, I see you turned your camera on. Do you want to ask something, or you just want us to see you? So I guess I will just stop the recording here, and yeah, from that moment we can just have a chat or hang out or whatever.